There have been many close calls for me as a woman. You know what I mean? Had a little too much to drink, stayed out a little too late at night, and ended up with the wrong group of guys. Yet, somehow, I always managed to come out of those situations without anything major happening. Now, granted, I've been scratched up and bruised a bit, but nothing crazy like sexual assault or kidnapping attempts. That was until one night my roommate Caitlin and I went out after an LSU football game. Hang on, let me pause right here and say this before I continue. I was the designated driver that night, so I only had one drink. What I'm about to tell you, I saw with sober eyes and a clear mind. Okay, now. So, we leave the game, head back out to our dorms, change clothes, and then head out to the local barroom. Streets are packed with people. All the bars have lines out the door. We were waiting in line when we see Chris, my ex-boyfriend, and he invites us to this party. Chris was always a good guy. He was just too gun crazy for me. You know, straight-laced, Dudley Do-Right kind of guy, but still a huge gun nut. The kind of guy that made you go shooting every weekend and spent all of his money on guns. Anyway, back to the story. So I'm thinking we're gonna go to a house party. But nope. We follow him out to the Mississippi River north of Baton Rouge, and it's a damn bonfire party.
Pulled up, made my appearance. You can't sit with us without clearance. That lame shit, never let it near us. And your girl choose my team cause you still living with your parents. Flexing on the gram with your paycheck. Stop showing off them bills. 200
people drinking and partying. I had never been to one of these before, and truthfully, I was a little excited. Fast forward a little bit. So we're hanging out, I'm mingling, bouncing around, talking to different people when I see Caitlin stumbling off with this guy. She's had a few drinks, but nothing that would have her moving around like that. So I'm thinking, red flags. Gotta go see what's going on. The two of them move away from the crowd and towards this patch of woods. So now I'm walking fast to get to where she is. I'm not sure how Chris saw me through the crowd, but as I'm moving, he catches up and asks, "What's wrong?" And I tell him, Caitlin is wandering off into the woods with some guy. Imagine the scene. The light from the bonfire is now...
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's the one and only James Williams Dog Waters, and you are back with me, and we are hanging out. Now, if you notice that I'm a little nasally, if you notice that I may cough, forgive me. I'm getting over being sick with something that was pretty bad, but there's something going around right now that's getting everybody, and I'm not helping myself because I'm continuing to smoke cigars and drink coffee and do all kind of crazy things when I probably should just be hydrating and laying down. But nonetheless, so if you hear that nasaliness, that's just me being a little bit retarded. You know what I'm saying? I should stop smoking. But nonetheless, I'm excited because I got my man Nick Valante back on with me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about Nick. So I'm going to rewind the tape and take you all the way back to when I first came in to the Dogman community. You know, it was like there was the Dogman, North American Dogman Project. You had these teams, you had these groups of people that were going out researching Dogman. And over the years, I would get like phone calls from people who from different regions, and they would say, hey, we know you get encounters from here. We want to work with you. We want to do this. We want to do that. And I always would be like, well, no, I'm not ready to do that yet. No, I'm not ready to do that yet. And up until recently, when Nick and I started talking, you have to give people an opportunity to get to know them. You have to give people an opportunity to understand who they are from a human perspective, as an individual perspective. The more I talk to Nick, the more I really like him as a man, not like, as somebody who's in a cryptid community, just as another guy. And all too often in this field, people don't get to know people as just the guy that they are. They know them as the personality that they are. And that's one of the greatest mistakes that, in my experience, that, individuals make that are in the cryptid field and the paranormal field. They never build a relationship on the person. You know what I'm saying? It takes time. It'd be an interview. But over that time period, you get to know that person. So, without any further ado, I'm excited to have Nick Valante on here with me, and we're gonna do some chopping it up. Nick, what's going on, baby? How you feeling?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Great to be back again.
Man, I'm happy you came back to join me. And ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna the last interview we did, we talked about home self-defense and defending yourself from Dogman. That was wild. And so this time, we're gonna kind of go off the beaten path and get into some of the things that where the field is kind of turning, and people are really starting to investigate some of what I would call supernatural encounters that happen, or the concept of portals and locations where these things may be coming into from an interdimensional realm. It's kind of hard to quantify that and put that in words, but I called it the other stuff that's associated with cryptids. And that's what I've kind of phrased it as, because you realize there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on out in the woods when you're out there searching for cryptids. So, Nick, let me ask you this. When, as a field researcher, I guess the question was, how hard was it? Because I'm pretty sure at some point in time you had to wrap your mind around it. How hard or easy is the best way to put it? Was it for you to kind of make that leap from, okay, there's a footprint on the ground, there's a hair sample on the fence, to, wait, this thing may have come through a portal? How did you get to that point?
It took me about a good half a year because I was putting together my research. You got to remember, I am a 14 researcher also, which means I go to libraries, I go to bookstores, I read books, I read the internet, but I'm also out there, boots on the ground, in the field. And I'm reading stuff every day, constantly, and I'm putting together stuff. And I'm a guy that handwrites things in notebooks so that I can compare it easier for me. And I'm saying to myself, my God, look at this. We were following a Bigfoot trail, and the footprints ended in a field. We were following a Dogman trail, and it suddenly ended. And we looked around, and there was no trees. I mean, this happens so many times. It's like what I like to call where the footprint ends. So after about a good half a year of compiling all this information and reading stuff from other field researchers, I'm saying I got to start thinking way outside the box at this point, because where are these things going? They could either jump like the Hulk, a half a mile, or they're going through a portal, or it's possible that there's a UFO out there, some kind of a spacecraft, transporting them up into the craft. I mean, it has to be something. It's not about, Bigfoot can become opaque and blend in with the scenery. No, it's not about that. Because on several occasions when we were out there, like I said, I do Dogman mainly, but if I get a call for Bigfoot and I could reach that area soon enough, I'll go out and I'll research that too. I research all the cryptids. But in these particular cases, we had Bigfoot sightings. We went out there, we're following the footprints, and what we like to do is bring different types of equipment. And one piece of equipment is a powder blower, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a machine that's handheld. It's like a large shotgun, and we put talcum powder in it, baby powder, and we shoot it. Now, if Sasquatch, the last place where we saw it, is becoming opaque, it's gonna go all over them, and we'll be able to see them. It's like if the invisible man was 10 feet from me, and I shot him with powder. You got his outline. Well, we were doing that for the longest time, and to no end. Nothing happened. So we were trying to, like I said, go with the times and try to prove what's out there. So after doing that, I'm saying, there's got to be something. Then I got reports of hunters out there, and sometimes it ended tragically. For instance, this father and son pair that went out hunting. The father, he's talking to his son. His son's like 22 years old. 1 minute he's talking to him. He takes a knee because he saw a deer go by in the distance, and then he says something to his son to go flank the deer. He turns around and he goes, "Ed, where are you? Ed?" Ed disappeared. The father went looking for Ed, and there was no Ed. So where did he go? What happened? The father went and got on the telephone. He called his brothers. They all came down. He had 5 people searching for his son. They never found the fellow. You got a 22-year-old hunter with a rifle and a sidearm that just totally disappeared. And he was only several feet away from where his father was standing. Other researchers that I've spoken to, and I've read some other researchers' work, they're talking about they're watching a cryptid, and suddenly the cryptid just disappears into a oval-like piece of air.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is going on here? So I'm trying to put 2 and 2 together, and instead of ignoring it, I'm writing it down as a side note. I keep writing these side notes down. And after a 6-month period, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, my God, this is a partial answer. You know, D-Dub, for every answer we get 30 more questions.
Right.
So that's where I stand now with the portal thing. I'm not discounting that at all. It's possible.
And you know what, Nick? When you start chunking down on portals, I've said for the longest, in my opinion, when you deal with cryptids and dogman, it's like these different lanes on a highway. You know, one lane is physical, flesh and blood. The other lane is interdimensional. The other lane may be attributed to UFOs. Another lane is definitely spiritual, where something manifests and pretends to be them and manifests in your household. But when you really start to chunk down on the interdimensional aspect of it, it makes perfect sense that there would be some kind of portal for them to move across vast distances. There's a researcher named Wendy Wilson. She sent me a picture in her backyard, and you see what looks like a oval circle in the trees, and what's in that circle is different from the trees that are like in the foliage around it. And then you see what looks
Exactly.
like a giant freaking Bigfoot head. Like it's sticking out of this portal looking around. But all you see is the head and like the neck. And she sent it to me, and I look and I'm like, man, am I seeing what this is? And she didn't give me any, she didn't preface it with anything. Hey DW, look at this. I look and I'm like, okay, am I seeing that right? Is that like coming out of a portal? She says, okay, so I'm not going crazy. I said, yeah, that's wild. So it would make sense that at some point in time, if you're going down and that would mean interdimensional, meaning you're moving from one dimension to the other, it would make sense that it's possible. No different than with the Fae and with fairies and them having opportunities for them to snatch a person and bring them to their dimension. There's folklore on that for a reason. Like it's not like somebody just said, "Oh, let me sit here and make this up." No, over thousands of years, people have experienced things that led it to be folklore and led it to be legend. There's always some truth at the base foundation of those legends. So I think
Yeah,
they probably do have access to portals. Um,
absolutely. Excellent point. I'm going to tell you, I had a researcher from Arizona, and he allowed me to use his name if I needed to. His name is Michael Thompson. He told me the exact same thing out in Arizona, about a mile and a half from his backyard. He's got a lot of property over there. He was out one day in his Jeep, and he's looking off to his left as he's driving casually about 30 miles an hour, and he sees an oval portal, an outline of an oval portal. He stops. He gets out. He has a baseball in his car because he's looking at this thing. And like I said, he's a researcher and he's very familiar with these type of things, but he's never seen one before. He saw one. He went into, he had nothing else to throw at this thing. He went into his car. He took a baseball. He threw it at this oval portal. It went right through. He went around it, and there was no baseball in back of that. It went right through. So there's definitely something going on out there. And what you said about the Fae and going throughout history, well, even if it's only 10% true, then there's some truth to it. There is some story to it. Something has happened, out there. And I guess it's us as cryptozoologists and people that are interested to prove it and to investigate it and to bring it out.
no, I agree with you 100%, and I want the audience to understand something. Like even the concepts and theories that we discuss now, if you look at it from 100,000 foot view, Those of us who write books, those of us who've done interviews, those things are turned, they're immortalized to where they'll be around for a long time. And so the concepts and theories that we're talking about 10 years, 20 years, 15, 30 years from now, people will be touching on those things. And so it's important that we take out shovels and dig into this, because that's how a subject or a topic progresses forward. Who knows? 10 years from now, they may have the technology to show you the technology how to open a portal somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
And it may be public, and then someone will say, "Oh, well, that's vindication for what these guys have been saying. They were saying 10 years ago that they were portals." You know what I'm saying?
that's right.
But if it's not on
Yeah.
the record, then it won't be tied into this field in the manner in which it can be accredited to this field in this phenomenon, which is cryptids. And I think that's why it's so important that we don't minimize the theories that we have as to what could be happening or where it could be coming from, and we just stick with this horse blinders view of, oh, this is exactly what it is. Let's explore it all. Let's walk through it all, and let's see what we can come up with. And I tell you,
Oh, mm,
from a portal perspective, just like biblically, there's plenty of evidence for portals. Like Jacob and
right.
his ladder. Jacob was out in the desert. He lays down
Hmm.
on a rock, goes to sleep, and he sees a portal going up, angels coming up and down. It's so there's plenty of evidence, biblical evidence. Jesus ascending to heaven. He goes to a certain spot and ascends. So there's plenty of evidence out there for the existence of portals, that can be not only just found and read, and it's in some of the oldest literature that there is. And so I just think if we start chunking down and exploring it, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get to the answers. What were you going to say, Nick? I'm sorry.
I was just going to interject in here that how much I am serious about the possibility of portals being out there is that when I go out there with my team, all seven of us, we have on our vests a Garmin Reach, a Garmin Mini Reach. Now that is a satellite connected locator, GPS. And if anybody is lost or hurt, you can hit an orange button on there, and you'll get police and rescuers coming to you. We just got these things last year. This year they came out with the Garmin Reach Mini 2, the second version of it, and it's like twice as good. This is how serious we're taking it. We are going to get the Garmin Reach Mini 2 because when we're out there, we don't know what we're going to step into or step through. So we're having these on our vests at all times now, and making sure that we're carrying extra batteries if anything dies, because you just don't know. As you said, you just don't know when you're out there in the field.
Now, you want to hear something freaky? This is south of Ville Platte, Louisiana. This happened about 6 years ago. Guy went fishing. He's out on his boat. Um, has cigars. He's going through one of the bayous, and he reaches down. Like, how you have the boat where it's that little kind of, you stand at the center console and it has that little window that goes up. It's really a center console boat. Well,
Yeah.
he's got all his stuff behind that window at the bottom, and the wind starts shifting and starts blowing his stuff. Really blows his bag of cigars. And he looks over and reaches down to grab them. And when he looks back up, his exact words to me was, he said, "James, you ain't gonna believe this crap, but when I looked up, he said, I saw what looked like a sliver of broken glass." He's like, it was like in front of me there was a broken mirror, and it was shimmering. He said, and then I went through it. And he said, me and the boat went through it, and it was nighttime. He said, bro, it was broad daylight, and then it was nighttime. And
Woo.
he starts
All right.
describing the sounds and the noises he was hearing. Um, and he goes through this process of trying to figure out where the hell he is. He ends
Mm-mm.
up finding a bridge. Like, you know how you can drive your boat under a bridge? He ends up
Yeah.
finding a bridge, pretty much ramming his boat up against the shore next to the bridge, hitting rocks, climbing off the boat, running up to the bridge, trying to flag people down. Turns out this man is 150 miles away from where he started.
Oh.
That was one of the stories. I did that story years and years ago, and he was the very first person that kind of started my mind thinking, okay, well, these portals must be real, because I ended up talking to his entire family. Like, they had police out looking for him, they were searching for him. It was crazy, and he was miles and miles and miles away from where he was supposed to be. His son literally had to come and get him, get the trailer for the boat, the hitch for the boat, come 100 miles away and come pick him up. And his son was pissed. Like, how the hell did you get up here? And understand, there was no waterway for him to get from his waterway to that waterway. It wasn't like he
Uh-huh.
could have just
Yeah.
snaked through there. No, there was no way on the planet that that man could have gotten where he got to. And it shook him to the point to where he and I would talk twice a week. That went on for about 4 months. We talked twice a week. He would wake up having nightmares. Um, and him and his wife started really having some problems because those nightmares where he would wake up like grabbing her, like trying to choke her because he thought something was trying to get him. It really
Mm.
damaged their relationship. And then one day he just says, I'm over it. Um, and this is what I love about like real hardcore dudes. He's like, you know what? I'm over him. Get back on my boat. And I'm going back to the same damn spot. And so to get over it, he got on his boat, went back to the same spot, and sat there and fished. And he said, if you're gonna do it to me again, you're gonna do it, but I'm not gonna be afraid. He sat there and fished, and that's how he got over it, bro. Which was bold and
Oh, you,
brave. I
you
wouldn't
know,
have did it.
he's one lucky guy though, because just the possibility that he would have went through and went into another dimension. That's the part where I'm always wondering if we ever actually accidentally go through and go to another dimension, not just go to another state or another part of the state, 150 miles away, but actually go to another dimension. I'm hoping these Garmin Mini Reach 2s are going to help out in that case. I don't even know. I don't know what can possibly be beyond the in one of those portals. We don't know as of this time.
And you know what always confuses me about, um, and I guess it's when you start talking about interdimensional travel. And I always wonder if people are talking about timeline travel, meaning every day there's an infinite number of possibilities of decisions that each person makes, right, throughout their
Right.
life. So based on my decisions, based on your decisions, based on everybody around us decisions, if those decisions change, it affect the nature and the outcome of everything that goes on. Perfect example: somebody decided they were going to ram planes into the World Trade Center, right? Change the whole world dynamic forever. Had they, and maybe in some alternate reality, they didn't ram those planes into, or they were stopped from ramming those planes into those buildings, and things didn't go on the trajectory that they went on. And so, what I've been struggling with this theory and concept is, and I probably, you know what, I'm just going to get somebody to interview. That's what we should do, Nick. We should just find somebody who studied this and then really chunk down on it and just interview them
Interdimensionality, yeah.
and just interview them and just come up with some questions, just hammer the dude so we can pull the knowledge out and figure out what it is. Because
Mm.
we can sit here and talk about portals, but the math, the science behind it, I think that's where the answers would be. Because I'm thinking, okay, if there's an existence of portals, and they do exist, then they have to have a certain frequency, a certain resonance, a certain magnetic field. And if you go out into the field with a tool that measures that field, that change in magnetic field, then you may be able to walk right up on one. I wouldn't do it.
Somebody that's in quantum physics could probably really shed some light on that. Because like I'm always wondering if you go through a portal and you end up someplace in another world, in a different dimension, in a different time, possibly in our world on this earth, but in the 1920s, or possibly in the 30,000s, in 3021. Where would we end up? That's my big question right there. Where would we end up?
Bro, that's scary. Because
It is scary. It is scary. That's why when I do go out, I have a backpack. I'm fully jocked up and loaded for bear, as they say. But I also have a backpack with food, water, and self-defense stuff and whatever, because just in case I fall into a cavern or a long cave and I have to survive for a few days or possibly go through that portal, I want to be prepared. You never know. Boy, I'll tell you, I hope I don't fall through a portal and If I do, I hope it's not from the time of the dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, bro.
Wow,
Fall
that would
through
be freaky.
you fall through a portal and get eaten as soon as you hit the ground. Chomp. Oh, what the hell?
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
my
Um,
God.
and we would be remiss if we're gonna sit here and talk about portals and not go ahead and just lay this out on the table for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. So we do know that there's locations like in Switzerland where they operate CERN, where the seat of Satan is. For those of you who don't know,
Mhm.
there's locations in, if I'm not mistaken, Austin, Texas. There's a location in, there's definitely a location in Tennessee where they have these same super hydro colliders. That's not how you pronounce it, but where they actually collide particles and
Right.
open portals. Hands down, open portals. So this is the thing. It takes all that effort, this gigantic, huge machine, to do that. We know it's been done. It's been documented out of Switzerland, where there's been people who came out of the project saying, "Yo, we opened portals and there's some wild stuff came out of that, and I don't know if I want to go back." So then the concept in theory is how in the hell would something like a dogman or a bigfoot just be able to just randomly open one? You know what I'm saying? Um, and that would be the question that
And-
I would
yeah.
ask the person, like, okay, so you need this big old machine over here to open a portal. How in the hell can some animal or maybe some being open a portal and just pop in at will? You know?
Well, here's your answer. Here's your answer. Back in the 1960s, they had computers. The computers filled a house full of rooms up with all the equipment.
Yeah.
Nowadays, look at your phone. It's a computer. So they've been miniaturized. Now, a different world, different dimension, they may be light years ahead of us in knowledge. So they've shrunk the technology down to microscopic levels, and they're able to do it. That's a distinct possibility,
Yeah.
absolutely distinct possibility, and that's scary. I mean, what did they do? Are these dogmen, Sasquatch, Mothmen? Are they here? Were they put here? By these other races and then abandoned? Who knows? Maybe they're coming back. Maybe they're going back and forth. We don't know at this point.
Yeah, that's when we get into those theories, man. That's why
Mm.
you got my word. I'm gonna find somebody, and I just think we should just dig into it. I'll find somebody. I'm gonna have Wes set an interview, and then both of us just get on there and just pepper the person
Oh
with
God,
questions
I'd
because
love to.
nobody's
Uh,
actually did a chunking down on it, bro. Everybody has their theories, but nobody really digs, man. Um, and that's the way to get to the answers. Just freaking dig. Okay, well, how does this work? And if you got to understand it, how portals work, and I'm really interested in seeing how scientifically, mathematically, what would have to happen to the environment around an area where a portal opened,
wow.
and if there would
Yeah.
be any evidence. Think about it. If there would be any tangible evidence where it opened, how it affected that environment, because it would make sense that it should be there. You know what I'm saying? It makes perfect
Oh,
sense that there
oh,
should be some
exactly.
evidence there.
Exactly. And people tell me, "Oh, you're crazy. Go out into the woods." And by out into the woods, I mean 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles into a wooded section that's possibly 100 square miles deep. We've gone even deeper. But you know what? I think quantum physicists who smash atoms in buildings
Crazy.
are crazier than I am any day of the week, 100 times over. Because my God, can you imagine just what you said? What's coming out of these portals? What are they seeing? Are they even telling us, or are they hiding
Bro, and I guarantee you they're hiding it.
it?
I
That's some
guarantee you
scary stuff.
they are hiding it. There's there's thoughts about the Tower of Babel, and I'm going to say thoughts. There's thoughts about the Tower of Babel, that the concept of building the Tower of Babel, where men came together and said they were going to build a tower to where they can get to the heavens and fight God. There's thoughts that that wasn't an actual tower, that was a device that men were trying to build to cross into the spirit realm, which would be crossing dimensions. It's thoughts of that. So in my mind, it's kind of crazy that if you just follow that thought series, that thought process, that you come thousands of years later, and these guys have already done it now, and they're actually, smashing atoms and particles together in their opening portals. It's kind of terrifying. It really is that, and it's done in secret, which is the most terrifying part. That's disturbing. And then the location in which the main one is even more terrifying because it's literally biblically the seat of Satan. So it's when you start really digging into that and peeling back those layers of that onion, it's like, hold on, man, y'all need to stop. Matter of fact, somebody need to whack y'all scientists and deal with y'all because y'all are tripping. Something wrong with all of y'all. All right, let's switch gears real quick. In the pre-interview, we're talking about North Carolina, guys. Let me say this before Nick gets started. So, oftentimes, you as listeners to Dogman content and cryptic content, you don't get this side of what he's about to say, and I'm explaining to you why. And because I want people to really have a great appreciation for what he's about to discuss. So, the monetization of a topic means that the content is filtered in order to give you a final product that's going to hold your interest, right? So you get one side of a coin as it pertains to cryptids. That's why field researchers are very, very important. And in my opinion, they really should be respected because you see, there's an entertainment side that kind of manifests into an interview with an eyewitness or a story or even a documentary. But when you start getting to the field research side, these type of things come out like misidentifications, and it doesn't get the attention that it needs to get because nobody wants to hear about a misidentification or the process of figuring out if something has been misidentified. All right, so walk me through how you guys ended up in North Carolina and then what happened.
Well, earlier this month, in a 5-day period, I got 7 people that contacted me from North Carolina, from a specific area that they had been in. And I'll tell you, it's Washington County, North Carolina. 7 people contacted me either by Facebook Messenger, telephone, or by email. As it turns out, after a 10-day period, 2 additional people had sent contacts to me via Facebook Messenger about this same thing. And the subject was a dogman, bipedal dogman in Washington County near what is known as Phelps Lake. Now, I'm going to say it after because nobody didn't say it. I couldn't say it. I get dozens of reports every month of dogman sightings and dogman encounters. I try to interview people. I try to interview them with my video cam on computer, in the least, talk to them on the telephone. And sometimes I actually travel out to them and talk to them face to face if I feel it's a solid enough encounter that they had. This particular time, I had 7 different people who did not know each other. I guess they were vacationing or just going through the area or, family picnicking or whatever, because in North Carolina, it's not as cold there as it is up here in New Jersey. So, people are just having fun. All the reports said that they saw a bipedal, black-haired, canine-looking creature with ears and a very large snout. Interviewed them to the point where I'm saying, God, I just can't miss this one. I got the team together, and people don't understand. It takes a lot of logistics and cost to get a team from New Jersey all the way to whatever point that we have. And in this case, it was Washington County, North Carolina. It had to be that serious. And everybody that I spoke to actually convinced me that this was the real deal. So I took the team of 7 out there. We arrived in the afternoon on last Wednesday. We got our lodging arranged and we went out to Washington County near the area of Phelps Lake, which is a heavily wooded area. And we started at our nighttime recon of the area. We didn't find much. We went back the next morning. We found some scat, larger scat, meaning poop, largest amount of poop that I've ever seen, if it came from a dogman, that is, and or a bear. And as we're walking around that day, I found some footprints. And the footprints that I saw, now mind you, D-Dub, I study zoology. I'll probably have my master's in zoology by the halfway point of this year, all finished. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty competent when it comes to footprints. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, something just came on my computer here. So we found footprints that are really large. And I know for a fact that you have black bear in the state of North Carolina. The footprints were way larger than any I've seen for a black bear. And like the toe prints and the claw marks were way larger than any black bear footprint that I've ever seen. And between the amount of scat that we found and these large footprints, I'm starting to say possibility, this could be a dogman. I mean, we had a lot of footprints. We went back in that night again. We didn't find much. We went back the next day. We were there for a good 3 days and 3 nights looking around. Finally, on the 11th, the morning of the 11th, we're going through an area that's maybe, I'd say 150 yards away from the lake itself. Now, why that's important is because animals, including cryptids, will go towards a water source because they have to drink too. And they'll also head towards food sources because they have to eat. But water source is a major thing for them. So we were about, like I said, about 150 yards away from the water source when we hear a large commotion in the brush, and it's coming towards us. We took a knee, and we're watching the brush, and the brush is being shaken and going side to side. Mind you, we're totally jocked up, and by jocked up, I mean we have firearms because we want to go out there and search around, and we also want to come home safely.
Right.
So we're waiting, and all of a sudden, near a large section of brush, the noise stops, and we're watching, and we're waiting, and over this large piece of brush, which I later measured to be about 6 feet 1 inches high, I see a head start to appear, and it comes up. This head came up over the brush, and I'm looking dead at it, and it's looking dead at us. And it's sniffing around, and it sniffed us out. It took 3 steps towards us, let out a growl. At that point, it was aggressive. I told the guys to stand down. They hit it, 2 of the fellows hit it with bear spray. And when it hit it in the face, that was the end of that. It would drop down to all fours and ran off. Now, I got to say, later on, I was able to measure the brush, and where I thought the head popped up, it was about 6'5". That is abnormally large for a black bear. Black bear go from 4'6" to 6'2" maximum. This thing looked like it was about 700 pounds. It had an unusually large snout. And that's the reason why I think, along with the fact that it was bipedal, that it went up on 2 legs, that people were calling it a dogman sighting. Because this snout that it had really did look, to me at first, to be, wolfish until it turned dead on to look at all of us. But what it was doing by standing up on 2 legs was sniffing around to see exactly what it was looking at. When it growled, that was the end of that. We were going to hit it with the least amount of force necessary to repel it. And that was the bear spray that we hit it with. And it did run off. So there we go. In cryptozoology, a lot of times we have people misidentify animals that have been found and categorized by scientists with a cryptid. In this case, it was not a dogman. And I had to say sorry to everybody. I mean, we pulled the team down there. We're there for several days looking around, but it's not a dogman. It was a bear, an unusually large black bear. One thing I want to interject is that in the state of North Carolina, black bear do not hibernate. And that was confirmed with the wildlife services in North Carolina who I contacted. I wanted to confirm that, and they said that is true. Along this area of Phelps Lake, they also had many, many, many years ago another large black bear that was about 880 pounds, bigger than this one.
Oh, that's big.
So So it's, yeah, for a black bear, that is big. And I'll tell you, people always say, "Oh, I want to go and see a Sasquatch. I want to see a Dogman." Really? You want to see a 7.5 foot Dogman? You want to see an 8, 9, 10, 11 foot Sasquatch? Are you joking? You really must be joking. Maybe from afar with binoculars, but I don't know how much people need to go to a zoo and look at a grizzly bear or a brown bear that's about 8 feet tall. I mean, that is some scary stuff. It really is. But, if the bear spray didn't work on this thing, he would have had 7 rifles, putting at least 3 shots into it, and we would have taken it down. But we're no kill if we don't have to, and we didn't have to in this case.
So let me ask you this question: how did the eyewitnesses take it once you told them, "Okay, guys, I know you were freaked out, I know you were scared, but that was a bear"? How did they take that? Was it relief, or was it some of the people were they disappointed? How did they take it?
Well, it totaled out to be 9 people total, even though I didn't talk to 2 of them before we left. But out of the original 7, I was able to contact 3 within the first couple of days. And then I did get in contact with 2 more. The rest of the people I tried twice and they didn't answer the phone. So that's the end of that. But 2 of the parties, and they were families, they were relieved. They were relieved because they like to go to Phelps Lake, that area. 3 of them were kind of disappointed, like you said. I mean, they were like, "Boy, we thought we found that cryptid. We found him. We saw him. We saw him go across this area." And I was like, "Really? How close were you exactly?" And a lot of them weren't any closer than maybe 200 feet. So that's a good distance off, and they were near their cars so that they can escape. But from the description they gave me, with the snout being as long as it was, I mean, this was an abnormal bear. Think of it: basketball players,
Hmm.
7'2", 7'8". You got some 8 foot people in this world. You have anomalies in all parts of nature. So, I mean, you've got turtles that are the size of a dime, and you've got turtles that are the size of what, a Volkswagen out there in the wild that have been found. I mean, you've got all kinds of sizes on animals and people. So for a black bear to be unusually large, well, all right, he's an anomaly. That's it.
Well, I've always found that the people who I had to kind of be like, "Nah, I don't think that what you encountered was a dog, man." That's why I asked were they disappointed. There's people who legit get disappointed when you tell them, "No, that's not quite what you experienced." They want it to be that, but I don't think they truly understand the significance of it actually being what they want. It's kind of like, I want to be 6'7", right? And I'm 5'9". But you don't understand the reality of living a life as a 6'7" person, and I think that's one of the things that goes on in this field that's just never discussed. Um, that desire to encounter something, and then when you talk to people who really encountered it, they freak the hell out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Well, out of the 5 people, the 2 people were relieved. They thanked me. And I got some kind of a comment from the other 3 sources who are like, "You're kidding me. Are you sure?" I'm saying, "Am I sure?" There were 7 of us. We were between 10 and 15 feet of this bear when it stepped towards us and growled. I said, "I study zoology. I know what black bears look like." He was an abnormally large and just big black bear. And they were disappointed. I got to say they were. I can't wait to talk to the rest of the people if they ever call me back.
yeah, that's to
Ah.
me that's always been a telltale sign is when people are overly excited or when they're super duper disappointed. It's like, hold on, man, what did you expect to happen? You're telling me you wanted to actually have a dog man looking through your window. Like, are you really thinking about what you're saying right now? You want that. Um,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
and I haven't been able to wrap my mind around it. I haven't been able to wrap my mind around why you would want that encounter. Um, like in the
They don't,
average, huh?
they don't understand that as a cryptozoologist and as a person that runs Region 3 NADP, I would love it to have been a Dogman more than anybody else. And if anything, I would have liked to have seen what the bear spray would have done, if it would have repelled it, or if not. But I mean, they don't understand the other side of the coin. I'm out there looking for this. I'm trying to prove. I mean, that's my mantra: prove or to disprove. And unfortunately, I had to disprove it this time around. But hey, it was a great field investigation, and we had some great time out there. Found some good stuff, and we learned a few things.
Well, and that's why I said I started this with this is the side of Dogman and Bigfoot that people don't really get. They don't get the side where it's disproved. They don't get the actual, okay, guys, this wasn't what we thought it was, or what the witness thought it was. But it's very important that you as listeners get that side of the coin, because if you don't, you're going to be sitting there saying everything is dog, man. And Nick, you don't. Maybe you probably do know this because you talk to witnesses, and you can probably speak to this, or ask you to speak to it. You see, there's a certain level of fear that people experience when they really believe it's a dog man. Like those people who you said were relieved, they probably were genuinely relieved because it's such an invasion of an intrusion into their lives and forces them to move away from what their normal routines.
Mm-hmm.
It changes people for a very, very long time,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the one couple that they had a few kids that go there to to have the day out in the open air with their children. The wife thanked me profusely. She said, "Just hold on a second." The husband got on; he did too, and he said, "Oh, thank God, there's no giant dogman cryptid out there because we listen to this radio or that talk show or that, and that would be horrible. At least it's." I said, "Yeah, but it was a bear. Can you at least in the future take some pepper spray with you and learn how to use it?"
Right.
But other people that I've spoken to, you're correct. It changes their lives. I've spoken to people that seen a Bigfoot. I've spoken to people that seen, Dogman, or just had, seen a Dogman go across a roadway, and it changed their lives. I had one of our members he's still a member, but he's no longer an active member. He lives in Virginia. He had a Dogman outside of his house. And I'm going to tell you, he spent probably at this point close to $10,000 reinforcing windows and doors on his house. And I spoke to him. I am not joking. I spoke to him every night for about an hour and a half. I mean, we were friends before this happened. I was being like his psychiatrist, speaking to him every night because he couldn't sleep. I was trying to give him ways to calm himself and things to do to his house and what he should have near him just in case of a break-in. Because I'm sorry, something 7 foot 6 inches tall, 600, 700 pounds, if it wants through your front door, it's going to go through your front door, at which point you're going to have to defend yourself. So I had him set up perimeter alarms inside his house, outside his house, lights. I had him get the bear spray all throughout the house. I had him set up his rifle just in case. And it took over 2 months before he calmed down. And then after 2 months, he wasn't calling anymore. And I think it was maybe 3 weeks later, he calls up and he goes, "I can't sleep again." I go, "What's the matter?" He goes, "On my roof, we have a big skylight. I forgot about that." I'm like, "Oh no, here we go again."
Wow.
I can't win for losing. I can't win. I swear. I just can't win.
No, I'm with you, and these are the kind of things that people don't hear. When you listen to the interviews, because it's a product that people want to get. It's like, okay, let's get to the encounter, let's get what happened, and then it ends there because people just want to get the encounter. But it's all the things that happen 6 months, 12 months after the encounter, that process, that mental process that the person goes through to get back to normal, that get left out. And so I'm just saying all this to say, ladies and gentlemen, don't go out there looking for stuff if you're not prepared. You heard what Nick went out there with, how many rifles they had on target while they were out there. and those guys are the real deal. You know what I'm saying? So you saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna run around the woods and look for dog man, bro," that's a bad idea because you will actually probably be that person who runs into it. Why? Because you're out there all alone. You know what I'm saying? So I just
It's
wouldn't do it.
just a psychological problem that you would get if you came across one out there. You don't know what it's going to do to you because you're going to be in fear. And say, God forbid, you shot a Sasquatch or you shot a dog man. From the research that I've done over the years, and you've probably heard this yourself, uh, they may or their tribe may come to hunt you down. So, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're better off just staying home, listening to the stories, and being afraid for those 5 or 10 minutes and then forget about it because you don't want to see one. You really don't.
Nope, they will come hunt you down, and it behooves you to just enjoy it as entertainment. Every person who's and I tell you this, Nick, I got to a point to where I was accused of being a fake so much, I just got disgusted. I said, okay, I'm a fake. Here go the coordinates, go. And people started being silly. Oh, they'll email me. Can I call you? Sure.
Uh,
Well, I want to go to this coordinates. Is it real? Yeah, it's real. Go ahead and go. Well, what was there, dog man? You sure? I'm telling you, there's dog man there. I wouldn't tell him everything else that happened. I'd be like, look, guy was out there. It's on the bank of a river. It's by Sabine River. He encountered dog man. Now, that's private property. Be careful when you go out there. And it's inevitable that they encounter not only um, just dog man, but most of the times they encounter some other freaky, crazy stuff in the process. And then it's like, well, man, you didn't tell me all that was out there, bro. That ain't my
exactly.
job to tell you. You being silly and foolish. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean, plus not to mention the normal things that you have out there, which I've said a million times. You have all kinds of bear, black bear, grizzly, brown bear. You have alligators out there. You have coyote. You have wolves. I mean, you have spiders. You have poisonous snakes. I mean, you have mosquitoes out there for crying out loud. If you don't go out there prepared, well, mentally and physically prepared, then you might have a problem.
Yeah,
You never know.
yeah. And then there was one guy, and he had been talking. He had been contacting a lot of people, and I could tell because he knew too much. And he was like, "Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go 9, 10 miles out in the woods." I said, "That's a horrible, 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 horrible idea, bro."
By himself?
Yeah, I said that's a
Wow.
horrible idea.
Wow.
Um, I said a lot of things can go wrong 9, 10 miles out in the woods by yourself, my man. A lot of things can go wrong. And he went. And the craziest thing was he went and he didn't encounter anything. Um, but he went. And I was like, I don't even understand why you would do that to yourself. But people do it, man.
He's lucky. I want to give you an account of an individual that contacted me 3 years ago. He's from Canada. He was exploring wilderness areas that had abandoned buildings in them. Check it out with a bottle of water, his telephone, and the flashlight on his telephone by himself. And he would check in with me on a weekly basis. And I begged this fellow, I begged him, I says, please get yourself some bear spray in the least. Uh, you know, take people with you, tell people where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And he promised he would. As a matter of fact, he gave me an individual who was an acquaintance, a friend of his. And I spoke to that individual. I says, you make sure that Jacques contacts you before he goes out, please, or try to make him go with friends. And he goes, the guy's crazy. He loves going out there and exploring. All right. I didn't hear from him for 3 months. I contacted his friend. I says, have you heard from Jacques? He goes, you know what? I've been so busy, I forgot all about him. Nobody's heard from him. It's been 3 years. This
Holy
gentleman
crap.
used to go out with his cell phone and his cell phone flashlight and a bottle of water, and that's it. I don't know. It's an unending story on this one. I can't give you an ending, whether it's good or bad.
Holy crap.
I'm curious. I'm curious. I've tried contacting him, but there's no contact back. So, and his friend can't get him either.
You know,
I
that
I, I don't know what to say. You know,
I know what to say. Stop being crazy, man. Um, That's just that's insane. And like one of the researchers I know that goes way out into the woods by himself, sleeps on the ground, um, gets some of the best evidence. He will even tell you. He will say, "Man, listen, there are things out there in those woods that are way more dangerous than running into the Bigfoot or Dogman. And you got to get past all those different things on your way to that location." And I tell people all the time, the danger is you go through all that, you get some evidence, you come back, or you hurt yourself while you were out there on the way back, and you got to struggle to get back, and then you finally get here, and at the end of the day, somebody says, "Oh, that's a blurry picture." I'm like, man, I would hate for somebody to encounter that, but that's what ends up happening. Oh, that's too blurry, and you just invested $7,000. You risked your life. You did all this stuff. And somebody's like, "Oh, no, that's blurry. Nobody cares about that." So it's a risk reward scenario that I think people don't completely understand, but they're gonna learn the hard way. And
You know
many
what?
people
Though?
have.
You go out there in the woods, say 4 or 5 miles, and you're a real good woodsman. You're a hunter. You might be former military, spec forces, and on your way back, you trip and fall, not through any fault of your own, but it was just the terrain, and you snap your leg with a compound fracture, and it's sticking right through the skin.
Hmm.
You've got 4 more miles to get home. You didn't take any sort of a GPS unit that you can contact somebody with. Your cell phone's not working. I just hope you know first aid and you have a damn good first aid kit. Because I'm going to tell you, the first aid kits we have blowout kits, plus additional first aid kits just in case somebody gets shot. I mean, we can take care of all that while we're out there. You get a green stick fracture, you get a compound fracture, we can take care of that. We're gonna carry you out, but that's because there's several of us there. You're out there by yourself. It's you, the darkness, the creatures of the woods, and you trying to drag yourself 4 miles. And before I get off that subject, I want to throw at you one little tip for everybody that goes out. Yeah, water and shelter are all great things to have out there, and bear spray. But people, when you go out there, one of the things I want you to take is a good pair of gloves. Because if you have to go through bushes, if you got to climb up the side of a cliff, if you got to climb up a wall, if you got to drag yourself, you need your hands to do that. Take yourself a good pair of gloves. I mean, I use mechanics wear gloves. There's the level 1, 2, and 3. I've got all the level 2 and 3 gloves. I've got like 3 pair in all my vehicles and all my backpacks. Take it with me because you never know. But it's an important thing. Along with water and shelter, you need a good pair of gloves while you're out there.
No, I'm with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're up on the break and out of time. Nick, I want to thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. All right, let's go back through and you tell everybody where they can find information on how to contact you, especially those guys out there who want to send encounters and locations where they had encounters. Or if you're worried and you actually seen something for real and you want somebody to come out and take a look at it, how do they get in contact with you, Nick, so you can do an investigation?
Well, they can go on the Facebook page, the North American Dogman Project, Region 3, and generally through Facebook Messenger would be the most efficient way to contact me because either I am looking at it or one of my admins. I've got some super duper admins out there, Karen and Duffy to name 2 of them, and Vince to name a third. I mean, they're always monitoring the channel over there just in case somebody wants to report something. Or you can contact me through the International Dogman Project out of Finland. I also run that for all our encounters that happen outside of the United States and Canada. So people can contact me through there. But generally, Facebook is the best way to do it. And I'll give you my telephone number. We can talk or we can just message on Facebook Messenger any way you want. But I've spoken to many people, and I have people send me pictures to verify that it's real or not real, and any way I can help out. Because we're trying to promote cryptozoology in a good light, not in a bad light, and that's why I try to prove or to disprove. And I do thank you for having me on the show today again.
No, my brother, you're more than welcome. I appreciate you joining me, and we will be getting together again soon. I'm literally getting off of here with you, and I'm about to find somebody who wrote a book about portals, but they got to have the right background. And I'm going to email Wes and say, hey Wes, I want this guy on, and I want Nick on, and we're going to question him about portals. That's legit what I'm about to do right now.
Yeah, hopefully you get a physicist out there. A quantum physicist? Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm just worried about getting somebody who's not going to look at us like we're absolutely crazy, because we're going to be like, all right, so Bigfoot comes through portals. How the portals open? They'd be like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? So,
I'll dox the person too. If you can get a name, I'll dox him and see if he's for real. And maybe we could just ask him to talk about portals and how they open them, and then we could sneak the question in there on him. The question of aliens and cryptids and the like. That would be really good.
Oh, I just found somebody. Dr. Eric Denarno, parapsychologist on a journey through early stages of science to the fields of quantum physics, human consciousness, and their link to the world of the paranormal. Okay, yeah, it's not gonna be too hard. I'm just gonna have him on board about 10 people, and then we're gonna figure this out. Because if we can find somebody who understands that, and I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, this is what my objective is. To figure out if there is a way to tangibly measure the presence of a portal, and then figure out what you got to buy to tangibly measure that and use it. So we're gonna figure that out, because that'll be an answer to all these questions. Because now you can run around and try and find the portal. I ain't doing it, but you guys can definitely do it. All right, Nick, man, it's good hanging out with you. I'll talk to you again soon, bro.
Hey, great talking to you.
All right, man. Later.
Good night now.